This is Democracy Watch. Mark, we have a major update here with regard to Donald Trump's latest edict. So I'm going to put his Truth Social post right here on the screen. To ICE, Border Patrol, law enforcement, and all U.S. military, as per my August 25th, 2025 executive order, please be advised that from this point forward, anybody burning the American flag will be subject to 1 year in prison. You will be immediately arrested. And then, of course, the absolutely necessary thank you for your attention to this matter. So, Mark, as is the case with these other edicts that we've seen before, can you talk about the legality of him basically offering this edict by fiat? Because this is not in statute. Burning the American flag, as far as I know, is protected First Amendment free speech. And so, can you talk about, I guess whether he's able to do the thing that he's claiming he has the power to do right now?
So no, he can't do any of the things he just tried to do. So let's list the things he can't do that he tried to do. Number one, he tried to overturn a Supreme Court holding that says the Constitution permits flag burning. Okay, so the first thing he's trying to do is unconstitutional. He is trying to say that burning the American flag is a crime when, in fact, the U.S. Constitution protects that under the First Amendment of the Constitution. And I know that, and you know that, because the Supreme Court actually told us that in a case involving a statute that prohibited flag burning. So, number one, Donald Trump trying to violate or rewrite the Constitution. Number two, Donald Trump trying to create a federal crime. Like, let's assume for a moment that there was, in fact, the ability for Congress to pass a law that would ban flag burning. Donald Trump is not Congress. In fact, Donald Trump is not even talking to Congress about many things. For example, how to provide health care to the American public so that his government shutdown can end. Instead, he is like a child hanging out in the Oval Office playing with hats and merchandise. But he does not have the ability to pass statutes. Like, he could sign one if Congress did. But so, number one, he wants to rewrite the Constitution. Number two, he claims the ability to have created a statute by social media post, which is in fact not how laws are passed in this country. Number three, he has actually played the role of sentencing judge, right? He has decided that not only has he amended the Constitution, he has passed a statute, but I guess what, he created a mandatory minimum, right? He has become like the sentencing judge in all of these cases, no matter what the facts, that there is now a year in prison for violating this statute that he created in his head. You know, I wrote this in Democracy Docket the other day when I saw the thing about his meeting with Jeffries and Schumer, where he handed out hats. You know, like, you get the impression that maybe when he is between meetings, Stephen Miller props him up with an iPad in front of him and shows him like Miss Rachel videos. You know what I mean? Like, is he just like a toddler who's just like kept busy all day long? And then every so often they're like, look, Donnie, there's merch. If you go in that room, there's these hats with your name on them, and you can hand them out to your visitors. Yeah. And then he like puts this stuff out because like, it's just so stupid. Like, of course he can't do any of these things. And also, you know, Brian, I ask you, what's up with the like writing it to the police and the FBI?
Well, this seems to be his new tack. I mean, you remember a couple of weeks ago, he had what many people thought was a private message, a DM to Pam Bondi, where he just wrote Pam, and then offered his edict to Pam to make sure that she could carry out some subsequent illegal order that he had handed down. And so this is, you know, I know that we joke about it, but you know, this is like, he views himself as this omnipotent being who, like, l'état c'est moi, like he is the state, he is the law, and in this case, he's the sentencing judge as well, and can hand out some mandatory minimum by fiat. But this is how he views himself as like building up ICE, which, you know, based on its funding, would be one of the biggest militaries in the world unto itself. Also the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military, which is the biggest military in the world unto itself, and that they are answerable to him, and whatever edicts, legal or illegal, you know, notwithstanding, they just have to follow his orders. And so, right, I guess
let me add, I think I actually missed one of things that he is doing, which is repealing the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the military from acting as a domestic police force. I mean, there's nothing about this that is remotely legal or constitutional or actionable. And, you know, you mentioned ICE. I mean, How does ICE enforce flag burning?
Right.
Like, what is the jurisdiction of ICE? I mean, you're right. It's terrifying what their jurisdiction is. It's horrifying to watch a lot of what we're watching. But now they're in charge of flag burning. I mean, what if someone who is born in the United States, as let's even say J.D. Vance, someone whose family's been here and has land in a cemetery someplace in Kentucky, okay, that you go visit. What if one of them burns a flag? You're telling me ICE, the immigration folks, are gonna arrest that person?
Right.
Who I mean, this is all just both fanciful, but also, to your point, Brian, it is also terrifying. You know, I make fun of it not because it is not serious, but in some sense because, you know, it is a coping mechanism that many of us use, humor. But the fact that Donald Trump thinks that he has turned the military and ICE and every person with a badge and a gun in this country into his private police force is terrifying. And because some number of them will act that way. You know, I'm reminded, Brian, of another video that you and I did recently in which, you know, they want to send a beefy man to arrest James Comey. And like, that's not actually that different than saying, you know, by tweet, hey, Pam, go do these things, or by social media post, hey, you know, don't allow people to flag burn. And if so, here's a crime I've made up for it. You know, these are dangerous, dangerous times we find ourselves in.
So knowing that every aspect of this edict is illegal or unconstitutional, or flies in stark defiance of Supreme Court precedent, if you have one of these ICE or CBP or law enforcement or military agents or whatever it may be that actually carries out this order, what happens next? And I ask because like there is like this idea of they take an oath. They take an oath of office to the Constitution, not to the president. And so how do you think about them not being allowed to follow illegal orders? I mean, I know this is all very complicated, but from the perspective, from the vantage of these people, what happens if they do see somebody burning the flag and they do decide to follow Trump's command here?
Yeah, so let me be very clear. This is not complicated, okay? This is very, very simple. If you are a member of the United States military, or you are a federal agent or a state law enforcement official, the U.S. Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, permits under the First Amendment people to burn the American flag. You may find it odious. I find it odious. If I were writing a constitution, this won't be popular with a lot of people in the audience. If I were writing the U.S. Constitution, I wouldn't allow flag burning. Okay, but it is allowed under our Constitution. And so if you are sworn to uphold the Constitution, and you arrest someone, you are committing an unconstitutional act. You are violating your oath of office. And I have no tolerance for it. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear the explanations. Either do your damn job and abide by the oath or resign your commission. Either follow the U.S. Constitution or get out of law enforcement. If you can't follow what the Supreme Court has said people are allowed to do because you feel like you have to abide by a post by a narcissistic child in the White House who wants to be a dictator, then you are in the wrong line of work. Yeah. You should go do something else because there should be a zero tolerance approach to anyone who arrests someone for burning the flag in 2025 in the United States. This was resolved decades ago as lawful constitutional behavior, and Donald Trump can't change that.
And by the way, for those who are watching right now, that clear-eyed defense of the actual law is exactly the posture that I think folks who are in the media space, who are in the pro-democracy movement need to have. And so one small step that we can all take to elevate Mark's voice is to sign up for Democracy Docket. If you are not yet signed up, it's the news outlet he founded to focus on everything voting and elections. It's a great resource that I use on a daily basis. It's also a great way to support him and his team. So if you haven't yet signed up for Democracy Docket, I'm going to put that link on the screen and also in the post description of this video. So go ahead and please sign up. Mark, to that point, this is just one small part of a larger whole, which is Trump's attacks on any free speech. And so how are you thinking about this specific edict in light of the fact that he's also ordered his FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, to get Kimmel off the air. He was successful in pressuring Skydance and CBS as part of that merger with Paramount and Skydance to pull Stephen Colbert off the air, even though they're not going to come out and explicitly say as much, but that's exactly what they did. Trump did himself come out and say that these NBC hosts like Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers are going to be next, and so there's no ambiguity in terms of what he's trying to do here. But just can you speak a little bit about his attacks on free speech, and especially these attacks in light of the fact that he positioned himself as this First Amendment crusader when he was on the campaign trail?
Yeah, look, Donald Trump is attacking the First Amendment and the rights of freedom of speech and freedom of expression in a way that we have not seen in this country in decades, if not longer. I mean, people talk about McCarthyism, but McCarthy was a U.S. senator who held congressional hearings. He was not the president of the United States. And yes, he exerted a lot of pressure that ruined the lives of a lot of people. And the federal government, the bureaucracy at the State Department and elsewhere wound up doing a lot of his bidding, but he was not the president of the United States. What we are witnessing right now is an entire government that is cracking down on opposition leaders, that is trying to stifle dissent. They are trying to stifle it in the public square. They are trying to stifle it within private corporations. They are trying to stifle it at law firms. They are trying to stifle it at universities. They are trying to stifle it among comedians. They are trying to stifle it among Hollywood. They don't want there to be any criticism of Donald Trump. And that is way beyond McCarthyism. That is way beyond what we have seen in this country in a very long time, if ever. They are using the Department of Justice to prosecute their political enemies. They are using independent agencies. By the way, the FCC is supposed to be an independent agency, right? So it's bad enough that it is government censorship, but this is supposed to be an agency that is insulated in some measure from pressure from the White House. They are using independent agencies to go after their political opponents. They are forcing law firms and lawyers that are supposed to be the ones standing up for the rule of law. They are turning them into their agents and to do their bidding. This is a dangerous time. And everyone watching this video needs to recognize this is not child's play. This is not just, Brian Tyler Cohen and me talking about some theoretical risk. This is a risk I live with every single day. This is a risk Brian lives with every day. This is a risk that federal officials, federal workers are getting fired over. FBI agents are getting fired over. People who are trying to stand up for what is right in the military are getting fired over. And we are seeing people prosecuted, criminally prosecuted, James Comey being criminally prosecuted. I'm no fan of James Comey for what he did in the 2016 election to harm Hillary Clinton's prospects for winning that election without his interference. But he's being prosecuted as a political opponent. We're watching, a Democratic member of Congress in New Jersey who's going to go on trial because she did ICE inspections in her district. I mean, these are very, very dangerous times. So what I need everyone to do is to treat it like that. And one of the ways we do that is by supporting independent media. And one of the best ways to do that is to subscribe to this channel. Brian Tyler Cohen brings a range of experiences and opinions and perspectives in his own commentary, in the commentary and the interviews of his guests. He has a wide range of people from the center left, and even, by the way, takes on people on the right. You can watch videos that he does where he goes head to head, toe to toe with some of the leading right-wing figures because he is exposing what they are doing and platforming people on the left who need to get their voice out. And he does a series with me. He does a series with Glenn Kirshner on issues involving democracy and the law with me, with Glenn on criminal justice. And these are all vitally important. And so the thing you can do to help make sure that not just you are staying informed, but that a broad range of people who need to hear this message is, number one, you can like this video. Number two, you can share this video with someone else who needs to hear it. But number three, and probably I should have listed this first, most importantly, you can subscribe to this channel and you can hit the bell to make sure you are kept alert whenever there is new content. That is a vitally important thing in this world in which there are people who are willing to stand up to Donald Trump and are willing to tell the truth. But we need to get those messages out, and subscribing to this channel and hitting the bell to make sure you get alerted, and then sharing these videos and liking these videos is something you can do that is free. It is easy, but it is critically important at this moment in history.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I just want to reiterate that there is nobody else who is fighting harder on the front lines to see change take place, not just in the media space, but also in the courts. And so if you are not yet signed up for Democracy Doc, and I'm going to put that link on the screen as well, and in the post description, if you're not yet signed up, please do yourself a favor, support the invaluable work put forward by Mark and his team, and sign up. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Mark Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.